Red warning lights pulsed through the monitoring station as Commander First Light looked up from his data pad. His scales shifted from calm blue to alert orange. Something had crossed the defense line in Sector 7, without an identification code. "Status report," he ordered, moving to the main console. The sensor operator's voice wavered. "Sir," the ship appeared out of nowhere. No jump signature, no warp trail, like it just materialized. First Light clicked his mandibles, deep in thought. Probably just a smuggler trying to avoid taxes. Still, protocol demanded an investigation. "Get me a visual," he commanded. The main screen flickered. The ship was sleek, dark, and covered in what looked like weapon ports. But its design made his blood run cold. "Sir," his second-in-command whispered, "those hull markings, they're human." The room fell silent. It had been 15 years since the last human warship was seen in this sector. That encounter had left 3 planetary systems in ruins. The humans hadn't fought for resources or territory, but for revenge. First Light's scales darkened with concern. His station protected 12 inhabited worlds. The nearest battle fleet was 3 days away. If this ship was anything like its predecessors, they wouldn't have 3 days. "Track its course," he ordered. "Sir, it's heading for Verde Prime. Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Verde Prime was a peaceful farming colony with minimal defenses and nearly 1 million civilians. Logically, he should evacuate and wait for reinforcements. But something felt off. The ship wasn't moving like an attacker, it was too deliberate, too careful. "Sir," the sensor operator interrupted, "they're powering up their systems." First Light made his decision. "Sound the alarm. Power up all defenses. Send emergency broadcasts to every colony." He hesitated, then added, "and open a direct channel to that ship." His crew moved quickly. No one had ever attempted diplomacy with a human warship before. The Council claimed it was pointless. But something told First Light this was different. "Channel open, sir," the comms officer reported. First Light took a deep breath. "Unknown human vessel, this is Commander First Light of Galactic Defense Station 7. You have entered restricted space. State your purpose or prepare to be engaged." Aboard the HMS Revenge, Captain James Stone stood at the viewport, watching the stars. His face was lined with years of battle. The last 15 had been spent striking at Council supply lines, always planning for this moment. The ship's AI, Rachel, chimed. "Commander First Light is hailing us. Maintain radio silence." Stone ran a hand through his graying hair. "No, Rachel. Let's hear what they have to say." As the message played, a small smile crossed his lips. This commander wasn't shooting first. That was new. But it didn't change anything. Stone was too close to his goal. "Show me the latest intel on Verde Prime," he ordered. A holographic display filled the air, showing the colony world. Small, lightly defended, but important, especially today. Deep Dark, a high-ranking council leader, was scheduled to arrive in 8 hours. The same Deep Dark who had orchestrated Earth's destruction to steal human technology. "Rachel, confirmed Deep Dark's shuttle arrival time," Stone said. "Confirmed," she replied. "Shall I activate the drone maze?" Stone nodded. The Revenge wasn't just any warship. Hidden in its halls were hundreds of autonomous combat drones, each carrying a piece of the technology the Council had tried to steal. And now, it was time for payback. The Revenge's drones were designed for protection, not destruction. Stone had spent years perfecting them, knowing that when the time came, he had to prove humanity was better than its destroyers. "Captain," Rachel's voice carried a note of concern. "Defense Station 7 is powering up weapons and sending emergency alerts to nearby systems." Stone checked the tactical display. First Light was doing exactly what a good commander would, preparing for the worst while protecting civilians. It made what came next both easier and harder. "Send them our response," Stone ordered. "Use the old Council emergency frequency." Rachel hesitated. Sir, that could expose our entire operation if they decode the signal. They won't, Stone said. But it'll make them think. Sometimes the best way to hunt isn't to hide in the shadows, it's to stand in plain sight, holding the truth. He turned back to the viewport as Verde Prime grew larger. Somewhere on that peaceful world was the proof he needed, the real reason Earth had been destroyed, hidden in the colony's central database. Deep Dark, the High Council member behind it all, had grown careless over the years, too confident that no humans had survived to expose him. Message sent, Rachel confirmed. Commander First Light's biosigns indicate increased stress. He recognizes the frequency. Good, Stone said. Prepare the drone maze for deployment, but keep them powered down. Let's show the Council that humanity remembers more than just how to fight, we remember justice. As the Revenge continued its silent approach, hundreds of drones lay in wait, not for destruction, but for the moment they could prove humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons, but its choices. Governor Rootseeker paced nervously in Verde Prime's control center, his tail twitching as he watched the two fleets approach from opposite directions. The day had started normally, farmers tending fields, children in school, merchants in the markets. Then, the emergency broadcast from Defense Station 7 changed everything. A human warship was coming. The very idea made Rootseeker's scales itch. He had been a student when stories of Earth's last stand spread across the colonies. They spoke of human ships fighting to the last, of cities refusing to surrender even as they burned. Governor, his security chief called out. First Light's defense fleet will arrive in 20 minutes. The human vessel in 25. Rootseeker clicked his mandibles in frustration. The colony had few defenses, a handful of orbital platforms, and a weak planetary shield. Evacuation was impossible with 1 million colonists spread across 3 continents. Sir, a young communications officer gasped. We're receiving a signal. It's on an old council frequency, one I've never seen before. Rootseeker rushed to her station, his 4 eyes widening at the code sequence. That's impossible, he muttered. This frequency was retired decades ago. He stopped, his scales shifting to a pale yellow of shock. It was used for first contact diplomatic emergencies. Silence filled the control center. On the main screen, First Light ships took defensive positions. The human warship was visible now, dark, sleek, predatory. But instead of charging weapons, it was broadcasting a signal meant for peace. Governor, his security chief asked cautiously. What are your orders? Rootseeker hesitated, then made his choice. Open a channel to both ships. His staff looked at him like he was insane but obeyed. Rootseeker took a deep breath. His next words could save or doom his colony. This is Governor Rootseeker of Verde Prime. Our world is a peaceful farming colony. We have no military value. Whatever dispute exists between you, I beg you, resolve it elsewhere. The response came quickly. First Light, Governor, we are here to protect your colony from the human vessel. Then, for the first time, the human captain spoke. His voice was deep, steady. Governor Rootseeker, I am Captain Stone of the HMS Revenge. We mean no harm to your colony or its people. We seek only information, the contents of Data Terminal 7 in your central archive. Rootseeker's heart skipped a beat. Terminal 7 contained records from the Council's early expansion, including classified reports from the Earth campaign. Those files were sealed under High Counselor Deep Dark's authority. The human is lying. First Light snapped. They seek only destruction. If I wanted destruction, Stone replied calmly, why would I announce my presence? Why use a diplomatic frequency? It proves I understand your protocols, Governor. Stone continued. In 6 hours, Deep Dark will arrive. Ask yourself, why would a High Counselor make an unscheduled visit to a farming world on the same day my ship appears? Rootseeker felt a chill. He looked at his staff's worried faces, at the fields below where farmers worked, unaware of the storm above them. Then he checked Terminal 7's access logs, and noticed something strange. Someone had been accessing those files. Regularly. Always at night. Captain Stone, Rootseeker said slowly, what exactly do you believe is in those files? Stone's answer was simple. The truth. The central archive of Verde Prime hummed with ancient machinery. Rootseeker led Stone and First Light through dimly lit corridors, their footsteps echoing. 2 guards from each side followed, weapons ready but lowered. Stone moved cautiously, his tall human frame a stark contrast to the shorter alien figures around him. 15 years of hunting had taught him never to trust any situation fully, but watching First Light's reaction to the files had been worth the risk. The alien commander's scales flickered with confusion and denial. These records, they can't be real. The Council would never. Never what? Stone asked quietly. Never destroy an entire civilization to steal its technology? Never cover up their crimes? He pointed to a glowing file. Look at the test results. The quantum compression drive specs. The dates. It was all copied from Earth's databases, before the attack. Rootseeker worked at the terminal, his 4-fingered hands moving swiftly. More files appeared, military orders, stolen weapon designs, and the most damning evidence of all. Private communications between Deep Dark and the Council's Science Division. By the ancient stars. Rootseeker's voice trembled. They didn't destroy Earth because humans were dangerous. His voice grew stronger. They destroyed it because humans refused to hand over their technology. He turned to First Light, his eyes dark with anger. Deep Dark ordered Earth's destruction after they refused to share their drive designs. He claimed humans were too primitive to be trusted with advanced technology, but these files show the truth. Rootseeker swallowed hard. Earth's drives weren't primitive. They were more advanced than anything the Council had. Stone folded his arms. And now, Governor, you have a choice. You can pretend you never saw this and let Deep Dark continue his lies. He looked at First Light. Or you can help me expose the truth. Search. Reason. Humanity had developed clean, efficient space travel while the Council was still burning radioactive fuel. Deep Dark saw an opportunity, steal Earth's innovation and erase all evidence of the theft. First Light moved closer to the screen, his military instincts clashing with his growing sense of honor. This explains the pattern of the attack, he murmured. They didn't target military installations first. They went after research centers, universities, data storage facilities. Only after securing the technology did they begin the full-scale assault. Stone nodded grimly. And then they rewrote history to paint us as violent savages who needed to be eliminated. The perfect cover story. He turned to First Light, meeting his gaze. Your people weren't told the truth either. How many good soldiers died believing they were protecting the galaxy from monsters? The archive fell silent, except for the soft hum of its machinery. Through a high window, they watched the sun setting over Verde Prime, casting shades of purple and gold across the sky. Somewhere up there, Deep Dark's ship was approaching, oblivious to the fact that his carefully hidden secrets were being uncovered. Governor Rootseeker studied the access logs, his scales shifting to a pale shade of shock. Someone has been accessing these files, always at night, when fewer people are around. He hesitated before whispering, the user ID, it matches Deep Dark's personal code. First Light's color darkened to a deep blue, a sign of unwavering resolve. He's been checking to make sure the evidence remained buried. And now, he's coming here personally to ensure nothing is discovered. The commander straightened, his posture firm with new understanding. Captain Stone, I owe you and your people an apology. We were all deceived. Stone shook his head. Save the apology. Right now, we need to focus on what happens next. Deep Dark will be here soon, and when he finds out we've accessed these files. A piercing alarm cut through the archive. Rootseeker rushed to the comm panel, his scales turning nearly white with fear. Deep Dark's ship has arrived early. They're demanding immediate landing clearance. He swallowed hard. And they're powering up their weapons. First Light stepped to Stone's side, no longer seeing him as an enemy but as an ally. "Captain, whatever plan you have, now's the time. Deep Dark won't let us live to share what we found." Stone allowed himself a small, knowing smile. "Commander, remember that distress signal I sent? The old diplomatic frequency?" He pulled a small device from his pocket. "Let's just say that wasn't the only Council protocol I remembered." Above Verde Prime, Deep Dark's fleet emerged from hyperspace, 6 massive warships in perfect formation, their weapons already primed. The sight was overwhelming, their very presence radiating dominance and destruction. A booming voice echoed across the colony, broadcast through every speaker. Deep, authoritative, and filled with contempt. "This is High Counselor Deep Dark. Governor Rootseeker, you will surrender control of all data systems immediately. Commander First Light, withdraw your forces from this sector. This is now a restricted zone under direct Council authority." First Light's scales rippled with fury. He's not even pretending anymore. Look at their formation, those ships are positioned to destroy the colony, just like they did to Earth. Stone clenched his jaw. When in doubt, erase the evidence. That's the Council's way. He turned to Rootseeker. "Governor, start evacuating civilians into the underground shelters. Get as many people below ground as you can." Rootseeker hurried to comply, but Deep Dark's voice returned, colder and sharper. "I see the human vessel in orbit. How disappointing. First Light, consorting with the very creatures that threaten galactic peace? Your career is over." A pause. Then the final order. "All ships, target the colony's main population centers. If they want to protect humans, they can share their fate." Stone checked the device in his hand. The countdown was at 2 minutes. He needed Deep Dark to keep talking, to focus on threats and arrogance rather than immediate action. "You know, Deep Dark," Stone said, his voice carrying a deceptive calm, "I've spent 15 years hunting you. 15 years gathering evidence of what you did to Earth. Want to know the funny part?" A crackle of static. Then, a cruel chuckle. "And what would that be, human?" Stone's eyes darkened. "You didn't have to destroy Earth to get our technology. We would have shared it, if you had just asked. That's what humans do. We innovate, we improve, we share. But you couldn't understand that, could you? The idea that advancement comes through cooperation, not conquest." 1 minute. Rootseeker's people were rushing into bunkers. First Light's fleet had taken defensive positions, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Deep Dark sneered. Touching speech. But meaningless. "Your ship is alone. My fleet is ready. And this time, I'll personally ensure there are no survivors to tell the tale." 30 seconds. Stone smiled. "About that fleet of yours. Did you ever wonder why I broadcast on that old diplomatic frequency? Why I wanted you to know exactly where I was?" "Enough!" Deep Dark roared. "All ships, open." The device in Stone's hand beeped. 0. Above Verde Prime, the Revenge's hull split open like a blooming flower. Hundreds of small drones, no bigger than a human hand, poured out into space. They moved with impossible speed, forming a shimmering, interconnected web between Deep Dark's fleet and the planet below. Deep Dark's voice crackled with confusion. "What is this? Some pathetic last defense?" Stone's reply was quiet, but absolute. "This is what you tried to steal from Earth. Quantum compression technology. But we didn't use it for engines, we redesigned it for shields. Each drone carries a piece of the technology you killed millions to obtain. But we made it better. We made it protect instead of destroy." Deep Dark's fleet opened fire. Beams of raw energy lanced toward the planet, but instead of striking their targets, they splashed harmlessly against the drone network. The tiny machines shifted, absorbed, and redirected the energy into a shield matrix, dissipating the attacks in bursts of radiant light. "Impossible." Deep Dark's voice cracked with rage. "No shield technology can." You never understood us, Stone interrupted. Humans don't just build weapons. We build solutions. And right now, every ship in your fleet is being scanned. Their data is being transmitted to every council world. They're seeing the truth. They're learning who you really are. First Light stepped forward, his scales glowing with determination. Deep Dark, your fleet is surrounded. Your crimes are exposed. In the name of the Galactic Council, I order you to stand down. Deep Dark's response was a scream of fury and another barrage of fire. But the drones danced through the chaos, turning death into light, shielding the people below with technology born from humanity's greatest tragedy. The battle above Verde Prime had begun, but for the first time in decades, humanity was not fighting for survival. They were fighting for justice. They didn't need to hold the line forever, just long enough. Stone gestured to a secondary display, highlighting streams of communication traffic. Look at this, he said. The data feeds were lighting up across council space, videos, documents, sensor logs, all spreading system by system. The truth about Earth's destruction, concealed for 15 years, was finally being exposed. Even now, Deep Dark's assault on a peaceful colony was being broadcast live, his ships unleashing firepower on civilians while human technology shielded them. You planned this, Root Seeker murmured, eyes fixed on the unfolding events. All of it. You knew Deep Dark would attack without restraint. You knew he would reveal his true nature. Revenge isn't about annihilation, Stone replied. It's about revelation. Making sure the universe sees the truth. He tapped the display. Right now, every council world is watching him try to slaughter innocents to cover up his crimes, and they're watching human technology protect those same people. Above them, Deep Dark's fleet shifted. Two massive warships maneuvered to flank the drone network, searching for vulnerabilities, while the others continued their bombardment, turning the void into a storm of energy. Incoming transmission, the command center's computer announced. Multiple sources, Council High Command. First Light's scales rippled with alarm. They never intervene in local conflicts. This is unprecedented. The main screen activated, revealing the Council's highest authorities. Their expressions carried a mix of shock, anger, and shame as they processed the overwhelming evidence flooding their networks. Deep Dark, one of them intoned, their voice laced with authority. Cease fire immediately. Your actions violate every principle of the Council. Deep Dark's response was swift and ruthless. His fleet turned their weapons on their own communication relays, severing the transmission. You don't understand. His voice thundered through local channels. Humans can't be trusted with this power. Their technology could make them unstoppable. Stone exhaled slowly. We never wanted to be unstoppable. We wanted to explore, to learn, to grow. You were the one who turned it into a war. Suddenly, the drone network repositioned, creating what appeared to be a gap in its coverage. Deep Dark ships seized the opportunity, concentrating their firepower on the opening, unleashing enough energy to crack a moon. But instead of striking a weakness, they triggered Stone's final gambit. The drones didn't just absorb energy, they redirected it. All the power from Deep Dark's assault surged through the network, channeled like light through a web. The energy converged at a single point, then erupted in a pure white beam, slicing through Deep Dark's flagship's engines with surgical precision. Impossible. Deep Dark's voice trembled. Our sensors detected no weapon systems. It's not a weapon, Stone explained. It's a protection system. We took the energy you tried to use to kill innocents, and turned it back on the real threat. His gaze hardened. No one dies today. Not even you. First Light stepped forward. All Council vessels, this is Commander First Light. Your leader has broken our most sacred laws. Stand down or be marked as traitors to the Council. One by one, Deep Dark ships powered down their weapons. The drone network adjusted, encasing each vessel in containment fields, cutting off any chance of escape. In the distance, jump points flared open as Council warships arrived, drawn by the undeniable proof of Deep Dark's crimes. Stone looked down at Verprime's surface. Below, civilians emerged from shelters, gazing skyward at the spectacle above them. 15 years, he murmured. 15 years to prove that humanity's greatest achievement wasn't stronger shields or faster engines, it was knowing when not to use them. 3 days after the Battle of Verprime, the colony's Great Hall was filled with representatives from across Council space. The room divided naturally, Council species on one side, the surviving humans from Stone's ship on the other. In the center stood Stone, First Light, and Root Seeker, the three who had unveiled the truth that had been buried for so long. Deep Dark sat within a containment field, his once proud scales dull and lifeless. The evidence against him was damning, not just the records from Verprime, but accounts from a dozen worlds, all exposing a pattern of deception and devastation. The Council has reviewed all evidence, the head speaker declared, her voice resonating through the hall. We find that Deep Dark and his conspirators acted without authority, violating our most fundamental principles. Their actions led to the unjust destruction of Earth and the near extinction of humanity. Stone stood silently, watching justice unfold. Above them, the HMS Revenge remained in orbit, its drone network still active, not as a weapon, but as a shield, ensuring the colony's safety. After 15 years of hunting, planning, and waiting, it felt almost surreal to finally see justice served. The chamber fell into a hushed silence as a young council member stood, their voice uncertain but resolute. "What happens now?" they asked. "How do we begin to make amends for such a terrible wrong?" First Light stepped forward, his iridescent scales shimmering under the grand chamber's lights. Determination resonated in his voice as he answered, "We start by telling the truth, every part of it. Every world must know what truly happened to Earth." He paused, his golden eyes scanning the assembly, and then he continued, "And then, we learn from those we once called our enemies." Root Seeker, the Verprime delegate, raised all four of his hands, calling for attention. Verprime offers itself as neutral ground, a place where humans and Council species can come together, not in conflict, but in cooperation. Trust can be rebuilt here. We have already seen what humanity is capable of, not for revenge, but for protection. Imagine what we could accomplish together, side by side. Murmurs spread through the Council chamber. Some members exchanged uneasy glances, while others nodded in quiet consideration. An elder, his pale blue scales dulled with age, finally spoke up. "But human quantum technology, it is too powerful. You all saw what only a few hundred drones could do against our most advanced fleets." Stone, standing at the heart of the hall, smiled ever so slightly. That's exactly what Deep Dark thought. He saw power and sought to control it. But technology isn't about power, it's about choice. Every drone in that network had the potential to be a weapon. Instead, we chose to make them shields. A hush fell over the chamber as Stone walked forward, meeting the eyes of both humans and Council members alike. 15 years ago, we would have shared our knowledge freely. We only needed you to ask. That offer still stands. The room erupted into discussions. Council members who had once feared human ingenuity now viewed it in a different light. The drones had not just protected Verprime, they had done so without taking a single life, not even among their adversaries. That fact alone was undeniable proof of humanity's intent. First Light moved to stand beside Stone. The Council will need time to process this, to unlearn everything they believed about humanity. But Verprime can serve as a new beginning, a place where our peoples can take the first steps forward together. Root Seeker bobbed his head enthusiastically. Already, our scientists have requested to study the drone network, not to replicate it, but to understand the principles behind it. To learn why you designed it to protect rather than to destroy. Stone turned toward the large windows overlooking the colony below. In the fading light, humans and Council species walked together, no longer divided by fear but drawn by curiosity. Above them, the shimmering drone network stretched across the sky, no longer a barrier of war but a symbol of unity, a constant reminder of what had been, and what could be. The HMS Revenge will remain here, Stone announced. Not as a warning, but as a promise. Its drones will stand watch over Ver Prime and any other world that chooses to embrace this new path. Let it serve as proof that true strength does not lie in weapons or shields, but in the wisdom to choose how they are used. The head speaker stood, his expression solemn yet hopeful. Then let it be recorded, Ver Prime shall be the place of reconciliation, under the joint protection of humanity and the Council. And let Deep Dark's punishment be this, to witness the rise of something greater than war. To see those he sought to destroy become our teachers in forging a better future. As the formal proceedings came to an end, Stone wandered through the colony's garden, the air thick with the scent of alien blossoms. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues reminiscent of Earth. But for the first time in 15 years, those memories did not bring him pain. First light found him standing near a fountain, watching as a group of children, human and alien alike, played together, their laughter ringing through the garden. Your people have a saying, don't they? About revenge being best served cold? Stone smiled, his gaze never leaving the children. We have a better one, he said softly. The best revenge is living well. And at last, we all have the chance to do just that.